So hello and welcome. My name's Elizabeth Cape and I'm a legal director in the real estate disputes team at Addleshaw Goddard, and we're going to spend the next 5 to 10 minutes talking about International Women's Day and women in the real estate sector. So International Women's Day is a global day on the 8th of March each year, celebrating the social, economic, cultural and political achievements of women. It's one of the most important days of the year to celebrate women's achievements, to raise awareness against bias and to take action for women's equality. So to mark International Women's Day at Addleshaw Goddard, we are interviewing some of our fantastic female clients, and I'm delighted that Annalise Jalland from British Land can join me today to talk about her role in one of the UK's leading property companies. So Annalise is an asset manager at British Land. So Annalise, let's start maybe by you telling us about your role at British Land, how you got there and how that role has changed since you first joined.
Hi Liz, thanks very much for having me. I'm honoured to be here. So my role at British Land, so I've been an asset manager in the real estate team for 7 years now. It's the second role I've had at British Land. I've worked predominantly in the retail team, though most recently I've started working on some office buildings. It's my second job. So previously I worked I started as a graduate at CBRE in their retail team as well. So I've basically had a retail, pretty retail dominated career so far. So I trained there as a graduate and became a chartered surveyor there doing their graduate programme. I stayed there for a couple of years and then flew the nest and went to British Land. And prior to that, my route to real estate was via a small detour with an economics degree, because I didn't really know that real estate careers existed when I first left school, and ended up doing a master's in real estate when I worked out that I didn't want a job in finance, essentially. A little bit about my job to kind of day to day. So as an asset manager, I'm responsible for the overall sort of strategy for our assets, and I work on a couple of mixed use retail and office properties, and our performance of the assets. So I work with all the teams generally at British Land, from development and leasing and finance, and our site teams, who are kind of our lifeblood, and they make sure our assets are run really well for our occupiers and our customers.
So it's very wide ranging, and I bet it changes every day. No day's ever the same.
No day's never the same, no.
Okay, so for International Women's Day 2021, the campaign theme is called Choose to Challenge, whereby a challenge world is an alert world, and from challenge comes change. So what would you like to challenge or change if you could?
It's a really good question. I'd like to challenge the diversity of our workers and people that work in real estate. And I know it's something that is changing, and there are initiatives out there that, there's one that British Land supports called Pathways to Property, which aims to increase awareness of school leavers of a career in real estate. Because like me, I didn't know that I could have a real estate career when I left school, and that's still the case. Lots of people think that it's, you can become an estate agent and there's not much more to it, and there is obviously so much more to it. And unless we can really change that, I think we'll always struggle to have a really diverse set of workers and a workforce within real estate, and that will over time, hopefully by changing this and increasing diversity, that will flow through into senior roles and senior leadership.
Absolutely, yeah. Pathways to Property is fantastic. I've read a lot about that. It's brilliant. So maybe you've already challenged something that has made a change. Can you think of something that's the case?
So I've got a bit of a personal example, but one which I would encourage people to, as a result, I would encourage people to do. So a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, I joined the board of trustees for a charity. So BL has a great initiative internally where it supports BL employees if they want to potentially join the board of a charity or an organisation through some training, because it's actually quite a lot of governance that goes behind running charities that I didn't really appreciate at the time. So BL also then works with the company to pair you up with potential charities that need your skills. And I put myself out there and found and applied for a charity trustee role that I was lucky enough to be able to be selected for. But at the time, I really felt like I would not add enough value. Like, what value could someone who has a 10-year long career give to a charity where they've got lots of members and trustees who have been working for so many decades? Some are even retired, which is probably the whole point of why they were trying to diversify their board. But I felt like I still feel like I have some imposter syndrome when I attend board meetings, but I still turn up and I do add some value, even though I might feel like it's not very much. And so I would just kind of challenge others who might be interested in sharing their experience with organisations or charities to reach out and try and find a role, because it's been a really interesting experience. I work with loads of people I would have never come across as a result, and I'm helping to run a charity, which is also really gratifying.
That's fantastic. What a great opportunity, and something so different as well.
Yeah, it is
Oh,
really different.
I love that. That's really great. That's fantastic. So, within Addleshaws, then, inclusion, and you've mentioned inclusion quite a lot, and diversity within British Land, and it's also a key focus for Addleshaws as well. And at the moment, we're really focusing on gender inclusion. Within the firm, we're committed to increasing the number of female candidates going for promotion in the senior roles. So the British Land Board promotes inclusion, doesn't it? That's right?
Yeah, it really does. And certainly it's felt in the last, since I've been at BL for 7 years, over that time, certainly more women are in more senior positions, certainly on our ExCo board and also on our board as well, but just throughout the business. And I've also note that, surrounding me and my peer group as well, it's a really diverse group of people. And actually, in many cases, I'm in meetings where there are more women than there are men.
Very good, very good. Like that's what we want to hear. So, moving on there. So, what are you most proud of that you've achieved so far in your career to date?
So I'm really proud, looking back at this last year, I'm really proud of our site teams, because they have been our front line. They've been incredible at kind of keeping our centres and our office buildings open, safe, secure and COVID secure for our tenants and our workers and shoppers that use them. Bearing in mind, the last year has been really overwhelming for all of us, let alone being on a site, having to deal with all of the changing guidelines every few weeks, days, and trying to run centres in a kind of really challenging world. So they have been incredible, and they've also kept their teams safe as well, because they've been, it's been a really challenging time for everybody, but I really am proud of how they've responded.
That's excellent. That's fantastic. Yeah, it won't have been an easy job at all, what they've had to take on and achieve over the last year. So, and also it's all change as well, isn't it, in the next few months
Exactly.
as well? So,
Yeah, my centre director, he quite rightly postponed our one-to-one, which we have every week, because it was literally clashing with the PM's update and the house. So yeah, it was a fair postpone.
Okay, so what are you looking forward to, and what's next in the pipeline for you at British Land?
So probably unsurprisingly, what I'm looking forward to is getting back on site and seeing our customers, our site teams actually being in our places once again, because it's just really inspiring to be there. And I'm also looking forward to catching up with my colleagues for a drink after work or breakfast. And what's next? Exactly. What's next for me in terms of British Land? So we have some really interesting projects, and anyone that works in real estate will know that it takes quite a long time to bring forward development or refurbishment. But a couple of the projects I'm working on are reaching the point where we'll be submitting planning. And so that'll be really interesting in itself, because we've been working on designs for a number of years. I also have the challenge of keeping our assets and our customers happy in the meantime whilst we prepare an asset for development. And there'll also be a couple of tricky, interesting projects that might involve litigation and yourself, which I'm really looking forward to just seeing how they pan out. They'll be really interesting.
It sounds like a very exciting few months that you've got, or few years that are in the pipeline, definitely for British Land. So thank you very much, Annalise, for joining us today. That's been absolutely brilliant. And we look forward to working with you and the rest of the British Land team on future projects. So thank you very much.
Thanks so much for having me.